And Al, I just want to make sure, I know it's true, but I just want to say publicly, all the decks are under warranty, so that's not included in any of these numbers, correct?
That's right. And if you looked at the LOU, the letter of understanding that you all got, right, it's pointed out in that LOU, that we're not stepping in the middle of any warranty issues, right, or legitimate warranty claims that homeowners are currently actively under, right? That's not what this is about, all right?
Could you elaborate on that? We haven't issued your decades.
Well, if you lived in a home that was, still under warranty, so then, like, for instance, all of the garden units are currently having their decks redone, because they're all under warranty, from the developer slash GC, right? And they've come out and addressed those problems, and those are being done. If you own a 5-year home or 6-year home, then there is no, it's not under warranty, right? And decks are exclusive use, so those are on the homeowner. Right, so where you go, which is why the whole issue of what is an exclusive use item and what isn't, right, is a very important thing for people, if they don't understand it, to understand, right? Because it drives the expectation around what is the community, what does the association cover, and what doesn't it cover, and what does the association reserve for and not reserve for, right? So when the construction engineer went through and audited all of the things he looked at, right? He might have been looking at a lot of items that fell either one way or the other, right? And the developer is not going to settle on something that is not the responsibility of the trust, right? So the condo docs are an important part of what drives, a consideration for what goes where and what's negotiable and what isn't, right?
Just as a point of clarity, is the brick walkway that goes into each of our units our responsibility or the trust responsibility?
Most of them are exclusive use.
Okay.
And, all of us have drawings that outline what these areas are, right? But most of those walkways are exclusive. There are a couple, because of the nature of the way some of the homes were, for instance, there are some driveways that are shared, right? So some of those issues that are a little bit non-standard, right, operate outside of these guidelines, but those are small and exceptional. But I don't want to, I've lived this for 2.5 years, right? And I've crawled under every rock with this stuff. There's a lot of work to be done. In fact, one of the things that we negotiated, and we've had conversations with the new architectural review board, there are a lot of these standards that are driven by the bylaws as they are written, right, that need to be reviewed and better clarified. And truthfully also, I think going forward, there needs to be more frequent communication to the community so that people, as they come in, have a grasp of this stuff. Because, it wouldn't be a surprise to people in this room that when some of the information that's come out during the settlement period has gone out, it sort of has, woken up the cobwebs for a lot of people on what does that say and what am I responsible for? So, you can't get enough frequent reinforcement of some of the items that just are part and parcel of having owned a home in an association, right? But all of those things have to be taken into consideration as we go through this. All right, so let me go back to the painting, right? Just to complete that. So at the time that we did the transition study and then updating it through the president to go into these negotiations, we have essentially determined what the scope of work that needs to be done to catch up on all of these paintings. It's not insignificant in terms of the amount of buildings that are at a point in their history based on when they came online where they need some attention. And I think for the people who live in those buildings, even some of the people who've had them recently painted, know what I'm talking about. There's an awful lot of work that needs to be done there. So it was determined that for us to catch up on that work and be at a point by the end of 2019 for where we should be, that's $180,000 worth of work and effort And so, we agreed on a contribution to that, and, that 90,000 coming from developer.
So I have a two-part question. Number one, is there money today in the fund that we're all paying into every month?
There is. So we have $30,000, as part of the 2018. It is collected monthly, so do the math. We're
Okay.
probably at $23,000.
Fine. So now my question is, houses like mine and the Leahy's that have had serious paint problems for at least 6 months, if not more, we've been asking that you take some of that money and paint our houses before the winter comes. Because once the winter comes, it can't get done until April, let's say. My house is for sale. People look at my house when they walk in and they see it. And worse, when they're driving up the main road, they can see it from the main road. It's disgusting. I don't understand why you can't spend the $2,000 or whatever the hell it is to fix it and get it done for our houses.
Well, first, it's a good point, we appreciate it, and you and I have talked about it quite a bit. We don't know if it's a $2,000 job, so for instance, the Leahy's house, which is painted. We're concerned, yes, last October, we're concerned that it's not just slap and paint on. There may have to be significant, shingle or siding repair, replacement. And we've been out with numerous painters and also, with engineers and so on. So we don't have those funds. So we don't have the funds right now to do the repairs on the siding and so forth. So the other thing that we're bumping up against here is now we are getting close to a settlement, we're running out of time as far as the seasonal issues. So we're concerned, especially because of the Leahy's house. And through the engineering studies we've done, it seems that this is not just a paint issue. And so that's the primary issue that we're faced with without funding.
So how much would it cost? Now, you've gone out with all these people. How much would it cost to fix, in worst case, both of those houses?
Could cost $50,000.
That's right. So, look,
It could be a fair amount of shingle replacement.
and we're trying to be transparent here. Please,
Yeah, I
do
know.
not hold us to this. We think there's a significant amount of replacement that has to be done, and that's your place on Buttonwood and other parts of Buttonwood. But before we get in, we can't really tell until they get into it and start taking stuff off. So for instance, there's cups and there's curls and so forth. It's a concern. But we don't have the funds to do that. So we don't have the funds to actually get in and, do the triage work.
So we're paying $1,000 a month, each of us at least on average, and we're getting zero in return
But
for
what
it.
we can tell you, and we made a very hard decision, and there will tell you that normally what would happen, under normal circumstances, under normal trust, the 30,000 that the LCEs are putting in place today, normally that would wouldn't get rolled over to the next year, it would get spent. We made a really unconventional decision. We took that money and we put it into a bank account. So your money is actually being preserved, unlike it had been in the past. And so, to list your Bill's number, 27K right now is accumulated in a separate bank account just for painting. So it's not being wasted, it's being preserved. But we are concerned, we start to open up that can of worms. We do not have the money right now. We frankly don't have the cash to do any kind of repair that's required outside of 27K.
Okay, so if what we're here for today passes, how long before there'll be money available to do all the repairs that are needed? I'm sorry, it's a real issue.
It's a fair question, but the fair answer is, I can't give you an exact date, because what's gonna happen behind, hopefully a firm vote, we have to pound out the details, right? The check doesn't come, so the developer has put on the table that he has agreed to pay his share of the settlement, 100% upfront, right? At that moment in time, that gives us a lot of options to address a longer building list of liabilities, of which your
I understand, I don't wanna take the meeting in the wrong direction, let's get back on track, but understand that 30 days means it doesn't get done until April, realistically for us.
Well, but I think the issue for you, Mike, and for any, I mean, it's November first, right? So if it's December first, and this is part of what happened this is part of what happened last year with these buildings being painted.
It's too cold.
It was too cold and it was raining. These guys didn't properly prep. We've had the vendor out here, we've run the right at, we've gone through the due diligence on it, right?
All right, let's switch them, because I don't wanna take it off.
But the net is, you get beyond a certain point and you're wasting, you're throwing good money
I know.
after that. And we don't wanna see that happen, right? Knowing what we know about the condition of the siding of the building, so that's kind of. I wish I had that.
I don't wanna prolong this discussion, but just so you gentlemen are aware, and maybe you are anyway, I'm the other half of the Leahy's property, and the Gilberts who are out of town are the other half of the Wolf's property, so,
Well, just so people understand, and then we'll get off this, we have had the vendor did 4 buildings, right? They did 2 up on Buckwood, right? The 4 units, the 2 duplexes, and they did the Maple Cross, right? And the Maple Cross buildings have not got as serious a problem externally as we've witnessed with the Buckwood building, but they've got issues too. So we have retouch work that needs to be done down there as well, and that's part of the scope.
And I'll also go one step further. We did not pay that bill.
We did not say that.
So the work that was done last year around this time to do those properties, your property, your property, and so forth, we negotiated that out. So the 30K or whatever they charged us, we did not pay that bill.
And that number was reduced from the operating.
That's right.
Just so you know. Somebody else has their hand up?
I would just say one thing, our side of that building is, you guys are doing a good job, but if there's any way you can help Mike. It's different, if there's a limited amount of funds and you're gonna pick one place quickly to do, take care of it. You'll be fine. You guys will figure it out.
All right, so, we were in the process of trying to help people understand how did we take the overall settlement in terms of what the assessments are. So we talked about the categories, and we, in terms of what the categories were adjusting, and where the funds are coming from. And we've talked about the distribution of common element and limited common element. Questions about this? Just help people understand how we got to where we are.
That's right, where I'm gonna get confused is there were issues that we decided to not even it, so I don't know if we're gonna fall into defects or deficiencies, or it's all into my assessment, or I will be covering myself in addition to all of this.
So your particular unit, because it's right next door to mine, I know a little bit about it. So your unit is going to benefit from defects and deficiencies on some issues. It's going to benefit on property management on some other issues, and there may be some small issues that are part of your, right? Other questions? Make sense? All right, then it does. All right, so let me go quickly through, just in case people had questions about this material, and this was shared earlier. Just so people know. First, the existing litigation, that Al talked about earlier, right? At the point that we complete this process and have a signed agreement, right? That suit will go away, and therefore the assessment for the litigation will go away as well. Some people, I don't know if there are some people in this room, but we know that there are some residents who may have paid a small portion of that, right? There'll be an opportunity to apply whatever has been paid. We'll work that out with there to reapply it to the assessment. You know, we'll work out those details. But the $325,000 litigation assessment will be rescinded. And it's place, however,
I'm just getting clarification. It's gonna be rescinded or reduced to whatever we spent. So we may not, I just got a whisper in my ear, we may not completely rescind it, we may just reduce it to whatever it took to get us to sell it.
so let me clarify that. The 50 to 60, so what he's talking about is 325 might go to 50 or 60, and then be assessed properly.
So if they 1% interest, would be about $6 million.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, if you wanna, do the back of the envelope math.
The only
So
thing I-
just so, I'm sorry. So just so people understand, well, what is this $50,000 or $60,000, right? So, for the last year, in spite of the fact that we could try to hold off on formal litigation and discovery and depositions and all that kind of stuff, right? We have been incurring expenses, right? We agreed, we've had to tap the lawyers to get their expertise along the way for how to negotiate this and, what are the issues that we're gonna be faced with, right? We've got engineering, right, so we and the developer agreed to co-fund the engineer who came through here over the summer, right? There's been some property management consulting time that's been spent, from the Thayer folks to help us out. So this is the aggregate of some, what I'll call one-time expenses to get us to this point where we can present this settlement opportunity to the community. That's what this is, okay? Make sense? Now,
No, the only comment I was going is, right, we're saying 50 to 60, but please don't hold us to that, because we don't have the final bills and so forth, and we haven't gotten into the final T's and C's documents to actually get us to the final cash and so forth. If we think that's a good range, but please, don't hold us to it.
the assessments are significant. We realize that. We're homeowners here too, right? We don't like the assessments any more than anyone else in the room, right? We haven't got it figured out to the T's and C's level, but clearly, we're gonna try and make this work, so that the relationship between the cash requirements that will be able to be addressed when and if this settlement is resolved, right? And our need to assess maybe over time, or at least collect over time, we're gonna try and work that out, figure out what that plan will look like, right? We know that there are some, going to 2019, some immediate liabilities that we need these funds to address. The backlog in the painting, some of the other issues that we talked about here today. We should be able to work it out so that we can structure the collection of these assessments, over time. Maybe it's 3 years. We haven't put a stake in the ground on it yet. We won't put a final stake in the ground on it until we do sort of the cash flow analysis, once we know where this is gonna go, if it's going to go. But that would be one of the early priorities for the board once we have the election and we get the new board member, okay? So that's the plan, and we're obviously, we're interested in the community's feedback to try and make sure we can make that work, right? And make it work for the community. Mike?
Yeah, comment. If everyone looks at that $50,000 to $60,000 that we've spent just in the last few months, if we don't approve this, the legal fees are gonna be adding up to probably 3, 4, 5 times that much money in the future, and we're still gonna have to pay an assessment of some sort. So it doesn't make sense from my perspective, and I don't know if everybody agrees or not, but it doesn't make sense to not go forward with this agreement and get it done. And if we end up spending more time to try and negotiate another $200,000 from Ike, we're gonna spend more than that in legal fees.
You're still on my front, that's what I'm doing.
I'm being realistic.
All right, so let me move through these. All right, so we talked about the percentage interest. I think people are comfortable about that. The fourth point, let me reiterate, right? We are, I don't want to use the word concern, right? But I'll use the word concern. The board is, we genuinely are concerned, even if it's just out of our own personal interest, right? In wanting to make sure that we do this right? Okay, so we, between the contribution from the developer and all of you, on the assessment side, we want to make sure that these funds are managed properly and they are aligned to do the things that we have identified need to be done. And we're working through just how much rigor, right, and what kind of a structure that should look like. to make us all feel confident that that's going to happen. But it is this board's, main early priority, and it will be of the new board in 2019, to get that done early, so that we can all go to sleep at night knowing that, you know, all of a sudden, there's a $500,000 shortfall because some group of people decided to do something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
So, to back that up, I'm highly passionate about this, really, and so it's gonna take boards, this board, the next board, but also the community, to keep their eyes on this. You know, to use Bill's analogy, to keep us in those lane lines, to make sure that the money that goes into the previous slide, and we're gonna set up bank accounts and so forth, but it's really incumbent upon the community to keep their eyes and ears open on this, and require that the board give you regular readouts and printouts and reports on how this money is being spent, because this is, you know, like, at Christmas, we're gonna get funding, and we don't wanna use it all up, and we don't wanna use it for things that was not intended to. So please, we will do the infrastructure pieces, we'll get the bank accounts set up and so forth, but it's really, it's a management issue, it's an operational issue to make sure that the funds that go in are spent appropriately against those categories.
What did you mean when you said the new board in 2019? You guys are
Well,
on a rotating,
we are.
So,
sliding basis?
yeah, there's a rotating basis, everyone signs up for a 3-year term, but the first board, it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
So I roll off at the next, vote, the next meeting, the next formal meeting where we vote in a new trustee. And then Bill's term is a 2-year term, mine was 1, Bill's is 2, Ian's is 3. And at each one of those timelines, we vote in, and then we're on 3 years.
Well, we think of it as a new board now,
Yeah.
because, you know, even though you're only replacing one person, it's
It's
the
still-
agenda, you know, it's a board,
Yeah.
but it's a different group of people.
Yeah.
Right? They have to almost sort of restart, okay, what are the issues that this board faces? What hats are these people individually wearing? So to that extent, it's kind of a reset, right? And that's what I'm saying.
Bill, who develops the governance? Is it the board, are you going to?
On the funds and the management of the funds, it will be the board.
The board, okay.
But, good segue to my next bullet point. Along with the management of the fund, right, it's the management of how we're going to use the funds, right? And we talked a little bit about today, particularly in the area of maintenance, right? We've got a lot of funds that are aligned to property maintenance, the painting fund, right? The scope of the defects and deficiencies, right? There's a significant amount of work to essentially triage all of the detail that came out of the engineering studies, right, and the evaluations of the property, and to start to think about prioritizing those efforts. What are the scope of those projects? What are the things that need to be done near term, right? Sourcing vendors, managing those individual budgets. That's a huge task. You would never get that done with a board of 3 guys. You'd never get it done, right? So one of the reasons why we've been pushing the committee structure, right? We have the architectural review board. If we're gonna try and enlist that board and make that a very active component of the governance of all of the issues around construction, property management, and maintenance, so that we've got resources. There are 5 or 6 people who sit on that committee, who have a lot of great backgrounds, who can help the board going into 2019, administrate all of that. Thayer and the property management company also play a big role in that. A lot of the vendor estimates that we've needed to help us in the negotiation, or to validate that our reserve study is holding up to some of the scrutiny that an engineering review would give us, right? We've had to draw on there as well. So this process becomes more complex, there's more work to do that comes out of it. And that's another, hopefully, not just organized but transparent process that we'll bring to the community in 2019. All right? And that's really what the last piece. We've got 3 different formal engineering reviews, right? So the other thing we're going to do is try and bring together the findings of all of these 3 engineering firms and use that as another way to sort of evaluate the prioritization of the work that needs to be done.
Will the community be able to get to see that?
Yeah, we'll distribute parts of the engineering study once we get it. This most recent one, we don't even have the final one. We've seen drafts, but we won't even see the final one for probably another couple of weeks. All right, so this is the last slide. And maybe this is the part that kicks off whatever discussion the group wants to do. If 75% threshold is not met, what does it mean, right? Well, the proposal as it's been presented here today and described to you, it's null and void, right? Essentially, by not voting to extend the development rights, de facto, this proposal is not on the table. And the parties are essentially at square one, right? So at that point in time, we would be, I think Mike made, we would be in a position where we'd be trying to decide if it makes sense for us to litigate, right? Make that lawsuit active, right? Go back to the developer and say 70 cents on the dollar is not good enough, right? We want more, or we want other substantive changes in terms of the way that it's been described, right? We could, so we could start over from a negotiating standpoint. The developer, or might suggest, like he did 8 months ago, let's go to arbitration. We tried negotiation. We thought we came to a reasonable settlement. It didn't work. Let's go to arbitration, right? So there are other alternatives to weigh as we consider this one. I'm going to let this be a
Yeah, here's a
Yeah.
clarification here, right before we filed 93A, and this is the reason why it's broken down. So today, we're at a $1.3 million contribution from the developer. Several months ago, when we filed 93A, we were roughly $400,000 contribution from the developer. So it's a big swing from where we were then to where we are today. And that's going to chime in on his perspective. Doing this is what you do as a living. You do condominium law. You've got lots of experience all through New England, 3 states, right?
Rhode Island, Mass, and New Hampshire. This is what I do. I settle, I prefer to settle, but occasionally we actually try construction defect cases. And sometimes those cases are development right cases. Here we have a little bit of a combination of both. I think when I first met the board, and then when I met the owners, the first thing I said to everybody is my goal on any condominium construction case, for me, strangely enough, because it's not necessarily in my financial interest, is to get in and out as quickly as possible. Because whatever the settlement is that we hope to achieve, I want to try to get the best net result, as Mike alluded to earlier. So if you only spend $50,000 on me and you settle the case for 1.3, that's better than spending $250,000 on me and settling the case for 1.4 or 1.5. It's all about the net result. In my experience, a case, I mean, if you just look at it from a construction perspective, a $1.9 or $2 million construction case settling in what I would call its infancy, with maybe 50 or 60,000 in legal and engineering, is an exceptional result to settle for 1.3. It's very good, and the credit here, I'm going to say, goes to Alex, Bill, and Ian. when he's met with Ike to get this deal to where it is. And what I always tell clients is that a good settlement is one where both sides walk away a little bit unhappy. And yeah, we are a little bit unhappy. We prefer to get 2 million or 1.9 or 1.8, but let's be honest, that's not a reasonable expectation in terms of settlement. We could achieve that probably if we tried the case, but that's gonna be 3 years down the road and $350,000 into me, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it when you have this kind of number, when you have this kind of number on the table. Now, what Bill didn't mention is the fact that this settlement also has a component of an assessment so that you get up to the $2 million, actually nets us a little bit more from Ike because he still owns 8 units. So it actually brings the settlement recovery closer to 1.4 or in the 1.4 as opposed to 1.3. So we actually get a little extra money from him as a unit owner, which is beneficial. Now, ordinarily, if we were just talking about a construction case settlement, we wouldn't even need the unit owner consent, because that's something the board has the authority to commence litigation, to settle the litigation. Where it's complicated here is that, and we wanted to keep it out, but I kind of always figured I would bring back in the development rights extension piece. And I want to talk about that for a minute, because, you know, people might say, well, you know, the development rights extension, that should have a much more significant value on top of just the construction. And I would agree with you if the settlement, the development rights were about to expire in 6 months, or if they were ordinarily going to expire maybe even in a year, but he still has 3 years to go. And we all know that Mr. Van Otterloo has resources behind him, and if we ultimately said, well, that's not going to be part of the deal, then he'd have the ability to just slap up his, whatever he needs to do on his development rights within the next 3 years. I've got a case right now in Boston where the only issue is development rights, and we had a developer race to finish a high-rise by June 9th, you know, getting girders up and everything all done. I mean, he was going around the clock, almost 24 hours a day, Sunday working permits to beat the deadline. He still has 3 years to go. So there's not a lot of value in terms of the extension. But what we did obtain in connection with that extension, which we need you to vote on, because that's really the sort of the give back on the settlement, because if we don't get that extension, then we don't get the 1.3 million. What we did ask him to claw back on is the way it's currently set up is he has the right to build permitting-wise, another 16 structures on those 16 lots. The documents actually theoretically could allow for a larger development up there, but he'd have to go back to the town and get it re-permitted. So what we've done as part of the deal is we said, you're not gonna be able to build more than one home on one lot, so you're gonna be limited to 16. He's agreed to that. He's also agreed to certain architectural sameness or integrity, so that something doesn't get built that's not consistent with the rest of the community, which currently isn't in the development right. So by extending, we're actually getting some concessions back, so that we don't wind up with him putting in, let's say, for example, you know, going back to the town and then doing a 50 lot townhome sort of thing up there. So we actually get something back. I actually think, given the fact that we just filed suit on this case in April and have not done anything, we haven't taken depositions, we haven't got to the ugly details of litigation, I think it's a fantastic settlement, and I think it's a good step for the community to move forward. You now have control of the place, and you have control over him going forward. You are gonna have a significant amount of funds come into the coffers, which are not there currently, which should have been there. We caught him before he got rid of his entire community. A lot of communities I represent, I come in after he's gone, and then it's hard to get him to pay the money back because he doesn't have any continued investment in the property, doesn't have any continued ownership in the property. So you got it all at the right time. I think it's a very good result. It's not perfect. There's no such thing as a settlement agreement that is perfect, but I think this is a good result. I think the board has done a fantastic job actually negotiating in the weeds, in the details, with a guy who I think is probably used to winning business deals and winning settlements and things of that nature, and I don't think he won this one. I think Bill Duffy did a hell of a job actually negotiating. So it's not done yet. The lawyers now have to, and hopefully we don't screw it up. We actually have to put this together in a formal document that has all of the bells and whistles in terms of obligations, when the money comes in, the assessment, so forth and so on. And again, as part of that is their extension of development rights. So what will eventually happen is once this deal is settled, it'll be signed, they'll write us a check, then we have the assessment obligation, and we also have to deliver to them a document called an instrument of extension, which attached to that would be 75% unit owner consent to extend the development rights, and I know a form has gone out, and may have even been passed out today, and hopefully, we can get over that threshold and then move on. Now, before anybody votes, if there are any questions?
This form that was handed out today, is that legally binding on us? So we sign this, and assuming it's approved, we have given them the development rights.
You have extended the development right that they have running through 2022. It will extend it to 2022 to 2029. And it's not binding. It's technically not binding. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it, and we're going to sign the settlement agreement. They're going to sign the settlement agreement. We're going to have a closing. They're going to give us a check, and then we're going to hand them the extension.
So if I write in my form, provided they give us $1.3 million, does that hurt you? This piece of paper gives away our rights before we get the money. That's my only problem.
Well, I guess I just ask you to trust me as the lawyer. I'm going to hold it in escrow. I'm not delivering it to them until we have